Really, we have the Gate milling machine. I haven't had this long, I've only just got it, and we're taking it to pieces, and we had trouble with the brake unit. Now the piece you're looking at the minute is the casting, what the motor and the two drive belt sections are a pyramid belt drive system, and that bit with my hands on at the moment, that's the top, and when I lift it up, there's the bottom. So that goes onto the machine, and then the motor goes on that side, and this side is your stack of V-belts. Inside there, your belt fits around those two things, which you'll see a little bit later on in the video. Right, that's the bearing up the top there. You can see the stack of V-belts up there, and this is obviously the head of the machine. The top part of that is the bearing, and the bottom shiny part was where the brake goes onto. This is the bearing on top of the spindle, and the bit with my hands on firstly was where the brake goes on, and that's the bearing and the bearing collar as I'm describing now with my fingers around it. I had trouble getting this off. It was quite tight inside the casting, but with it being cold it seemed to be gripping quite well. Have you noticed there's 4 bolts there that actually bolt the brake unit onto it. That case I had in my hand a few minutes ago, it bolts onto these 4 bolts here. So there's 1 bolt in each corner. I'm missing a part of video here that the camera didn't record, but that case basically drops straight over there. Now you can see here the case is on, and I'm just going to drop the belt in. So that case is basically what I had in my hand at the beginning of the video, and I've cleaned it all out. And the motor, if you look, is set on the mill still on the left hand side of the photo, and I'm just dropping the belt on now. I'm going to put it onto the top pulley, which is the highest speed, and then it'll be out of the way. But at the moment I'm going to have it right down at the bottom, because I need to pick the motor up and drop the motor, and believe me, that motor is seriously heavy. It is not light whatsoever. So it's a bit muscly. You can see me tighten the bolts up here. I've just put the case on here, and this is the 4 bolts at either corner. They're I think they're about 10mm hexagon. So they're on each corner. So there's 2 on the top, big long ones, 5 inches long, something like that. Drive down, and that part below it is actually it's a gearbox. It's actually low and high range on the mill inside there. So there's a gearbox inside there, and the little plate you can see we're looking at is the clutch, which is for the power feed for the head. So we're just giving a good torque up now. I mean, that's not a great big Allen wrench by any stretch of imagination, so it needs a pretty good tug on it. Right, we've got them all torqued down at the moment, and you see I've got the ropes off the motor, so I'm going to pick the motor up and drop the motor up. But say, believe me, that motor is really heavy. I'm going to be running it off a VFD, which I've got all wired up today, so I can show you it. I can show you it all running in more detail on another video. This side bolt, what's just slid over now, that's like a dowel bolt. Originally that just all screw right out the head, but I've Loctited it in so it stays in. And this is how you adjust your belt. It pivots on that dowel bolt. So there's a bolt this side and a bolt the opposite side where I'm stood at the moment, and you slacken them both off when the belt's on, and slide the motor forward, and it slackens the belt off, so you can move it to another ratio of the pulley, and once you've got it set on the gear you want, on the pulley speed you want, then you just pull the motor back and tighten those 2 bolts. You can see me now flicking the belt up. I'm flicking the belt up to the top, which is the fastest setting. So that's, as we're looking at it now, a large pulley on the right hand side, and on the motor is a small pulley. So that's the fastest speed. Right, we've got that's what we've got in the hand at the moment, are the dowels. There's 2 dowels. They're called tapered dowels according to the manual, and they've got little threads in the top, and you can screw a bolt in the top of them to pull them out, which is quite handy. But they are tapered dowels, so if you come across somebody talking about tapered dowels, that's what we're talking about, and we'll be fitting them shortly. Right, now we've got it ready to basically assemble. What I'm doing here is I'm just poking grease into the bearing on the top. There is an oiler up there where you can squirt oil in, but I'm not 100% sure it actually goes in this bearing, because around the top of the bearing case, if you flick the video back to the beginning, when you see a photo of the, or a shot of the video of the bearing at the top, you'll see there's some slight rings around the casing on the outside of the bearing. An oiler goes in line with those rings and it sort of dribbles down. So I think it's to dribble down and it oils the bearings below as well. So there was a little grease in there when I took it apart, and so you know, why not put it back in there? It'll not do any harm. So I've now packed the bearing race with grease, and we're ready now to fit the clutch. Sorry, the brake. Now here's the brake. You can see it inside, and that's the brake lever. I'm wiggling at the moment. Now it's going to go on. So we're just going to fit the dowels in just to make sure we're all okay. You can see me unscrew a little screw out the top of it. So they're fine. So we're going to pull the dowels out and just make sure they do go in the holes. So there's only two dowels, one at opposite corners, one at the front and one at the back. Now this has gotten quite tight. What I've done, I've just smeared a little bit of grease around the inside of it, but I did expand it. This is a problem I had getting off, and I had to expand it with a heat gun to make it larger to get off. I really did struggle getting off. It would not come off at all. So I'm just putting the bolts in the centre now, which bolt it down to the bearing case. Now, rubber hammer, as you can see, and well, we have to give it a fair good whacking really to settle it down. Go around it nice and steady. It's not. It does look like you're probably whacking, but you know, I'm not whacking it that hard really, and it's going on quite well. There's 4 studs, if you remember from the frame, what we shot of the bearing case at the top. There's 4 studs that pull that down to that bearing case, and then there's the studs I'm putting at the moment. So to take it apart, obviously it's the 4 studs around the outside of the case, and then those 4 studs I'm putting at the moment to bolt it down to the bearing case. And once they're all out, that then basically should just lift off without really any prizing, but when we took it apart it didn't. And you can see now it's gone on quite tight. So, but if you start putting prizing bars under the edge of this, you're probably going to end up breaking it. So we did a little bit like that, and found it, well, it was getting quite a bit of stress on, and we didn't want to break and bend something. We knew something was stuck. So we got the heat gun out, warmed it all up to about, well, I could bear my hand on it, so it wasn't too hot. An electric heat gun, not a flame heat gun, obviously you burn all the paint off it, electric heat gun. I took my time, warmed it all up all the way around it, and I just put my hands underneath it, and it just lifted straight off. No problem whatsoever, it just lifted straight off. Now there you can see me just putting the dowels in. I've got a copper hammer there, look, just tapping them in. They're tapered dowels, so they've come into rest. Now, Allen key, these are, I think they're M8s size. Tightening those down, and they're tightening now down to the bearing case, ready to bolt the outer bolts in, which is 4 on either corner. So there's 4 centre bolts, M8s, and I think they're M10s, around the main case. We'll bolt it to the lower section, just above the belt. Right, we've got it all bolted together now, and I've got a terrible amount of noise in the video, and I hope it's not going to come through when I've recorded. But you can see on the top there's the 4 bolts on the inside, and that's where your drawbar fits in that hole in the centre. So there's the 4 bolts, and your drawbar will go through the centre. You can see the brake lever, and that where I'm pointing now is where we had to heat it. So we heated it all up round there and got that reasonably warm. You could bear your hands on it. And these are the 4 bolts now, what bolt the actual case down to the lower case where the belt drives out. So that secured all that complete system in place. and then the little dowels, you just screw screws in them. They're probably about 6mm, something like that, and you can just pull them straight out. And that's a brake lever working. It didn't work very well before; it was poor. It didn't brake very well, but it really does brake well now. You can just stop in an instant. It's great, and you can tighten the drawbar up from having the brake in it as well. So there we go. So I'll put back together, and we'll shoot another video of it running. We've got the VFD wired up today, so hopefully the next video will be it running and going. That's the gate mill. It's a G301D.